A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another live session of GETI Talk. My name is Shilpi. I'm the Relationship Manager with the Global Education and Training Institute. Well, first aid is something which is compulsory in all the schools, and we do have a first aid thing, available in our offices. But then, do we actually are training our kids about first aid, which is one important part of trainings apart from the studies that the children are getting. So here I have Miss Geeta Sharma, who is the head mistress of Kendriya Vidyalay Khandwa in Madhya Pradesh, and she's going to talk about learning first aid measures should be compulsory for people everywhere. And she has been into the field of education for the past 32 years, so I think, ma'am, you have enough experience to know what is the importance of first aid in schools and in other places. We'll just wait for her. I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you please start the show, ma'am? Thank you for joining in the Disruptive Education Movement. We are already live. So, ma'am, you are there, and I'll share your PPT on the screen as soon as you tell me to.
Yeah, now it is visible, ma'am.
Ma'am, can I share the PPT on the screen and you can start with the lecture?
Yeah, now it is visible, na, ma'am?
Yes,
PPT?
ma'am. Can I? Yes, please.
Yes. Very good afternoon to each and everyone, respected Shilpi ma'am and dear viewers. I'm here to discuss, to talk on the topic learning first aid measures should be compulsory for people everywhere. Now, during this pandemic, when everyone is rushing to hospitals, so every common patient get fear to go in the hospitals. So minor treatments can be done at home. When parents have first aid diary and pen on the table, and if they do first aid in front of their children will also learn these techniques. So what is first aid? First aid is the first and immediate assistance given to any person suffering from either a minor or serious illness or injury, with care provided to preserve life, prevent and condition from worsening, or to promote recovery. So let's have a look on different types of first aid. Assess the scene. Whenever you are going as a first aider, you should take care of the scene. Means what is the condition and how much first aid is needed to the victim. So first of all, the first aider should evaluate the scene, assess safety, prioritize care, check for medical alert tags, do head to toe check, move only if necessary. Then securing the scene. And then you have to handle as a first aider what is there and what type of first aid you need as per the situation. So securing the scene. Before performing any first aid, check for electrical hazards. Um, uh, what type of problem is there to the victim, whether he is suffering from electrical shock or chemical hazards, noxious and toxic gas, or ground hazards, fire, unstable equipment. Then universal precautions for airborne and bloodborne pathogens. You know very well about HIV, how contagious it is. So be careful while handling such cases as a first aider. Biohazards, HIV and hepatitis, And here it is tuberculosis. Now, gloves and respiratory barrier device like mask, they are required when you are doing first aid to such a victim, are a must to prevent transmission of diseases. Then, during treatment, avoid breathing or speaking over the wound. Avoid contact with body fluids. Use a face shield or mask with one way valve when doing active resuscitation. Use only clean bandages and dressings. Avoid treating more than one casualty without washing hands and changing gloves. Now, after treatment, what precautions a first aider should take? Clean up both casualty and yourself. Clean up the immediate vicinity. Dispose of dressings, bandages, gloves, and soiled clothing correctly. You know very well during this pandemic, these disposable things should be disposed of in dustbin, covered dustbins immediately when they are not in use. Then wash hands with soap and water. Means cleaning should be there. Then fundamentals of first aid. Activate EMS system. What is EMS system? This is 108 ambulance. You know there are more than 700 ambulances in every state. So you can call for 108 if the victim is serious. Now, ABC, airway, breathing, circulation. This is the full form of ABC. You should know airway, breathing, circulation. If that patient requires breathing, we will give him breathing through mouth. Control bleeding. There are techniques to control bleeding. As a first aider, you should know. Treat for shock. Then open wounds and burns, fractures and dislocations, then transportation. Establish responsiveness. If you are a first aider, it is your responsibility how to tackle the victim. So these are use of ABCs. Use chin lift, head lift. This much of knowledge we should possess if we are handling a victim. Now look, listen, feel for breathing. See that girl is feeling the victim is breathing or not. Then accordingly she will give him first aid. Attempt to ventilate. Ventilate every 5 seconds. Then check pulse. Recovery position. This is proning, how to lay down for to compensate the loss of oxygen level. This is the position. Now bleeding. If bleeding is there, stop the flow of blood by tying this type of bandage. Then wear gloves. A first aider should cover his hands with gloves while doing first aid. Cover the wound. Then apply pressure. Why we have to apply pressure? To stop the flow of blood. Then if a body part has been amputated, put it on ice. If ice is not available, you can keep it on a wet cloth. Control of bleeding. Direct pressure. Now this is elevation. Then cold applications means blowing air on the burning part. Then pressure bandage. Tightly he is binding the bandage. Now dressings and bandages. Dressings control bleeding, reduce infection. What dressings will do to the victim? Control bleeding and reduce infection. Now, what bandages will do? Direct pressure, securing, dressing, etc., reduce swelling, support limbs, strict movement. Now, rules for applying dressings. What are the rules if you are applying dressings to a victim? Wear disposable gloves. Means a first aider should wear disposable gloves to get safe. If possible, wash hands. Then correct size. Then place a pad directly onto wound. Avoid touching wound. Try not to cough or sneeze. Now, treatment for shock. Lie victim down if possible. Face is pale raise and tail. Then face is red raise the head. Loosen tight clothing. Keep victim warm and dry. Do not give anything by mouth. No stimulants so that victim cannot be infected. Now, in case of heart attack, call 108 because it's a severity. So we have to call 108 ambulance. Make victim comfortable. Till the ambulance arrives, first aider should lose his collar or take off socks and shoes. Then make victim comfortable. Loosen tight clothing. Check for medication. Keep victim still. Don't give stimulants. And if electric shock is there, don't touch. Means first aider should not touch him directly. He or she, first aider, should use plastic or a wooden stick to handle the patient. Don't touch. Turn power off. Call 108. Then remove person from live wire. Check for breathing. Then first aid procedures and medical care for animal bites. Sometimes what happens in rainy season or if a person is working in fields, so animals or insects may bite. So what procedure we should follow at that time? First aid procedures. For medical emergency, call 108 immediately because some animals or some insects may be poisonous. Control bleeding, cleanse wound, then report bite, then seek medical follow-up. If you are bitten by an animal but have no bleeding, you should. Sometimes animal bites and bleeding is not visible. In that case, apply continuous pressure to the area where you can see that bitten sign. Do nothing and continue working. Rinse the area for 30 seconds. You can rinse if Savlon or Dettol is not available. You can rinse the area with plain water also. Wash the area immediately with soap and water for at least 5 minutes. Now, lifting techniques. That patient is there with you, and if first aider is very attentive, he can call 2 or 3 persons from a crowd and will help the victim to transport him to the doctor. So this may be 2 persons carry like this. Then they can 2 persons seat carry and 2 persons seat carry with victim. Here 4 persons straddle. 4 persons can do like this. Then lift and roll or log roll. As we roll the log, the same way patient victim can be rolled. Now key points to remember. Medical emergencies can happen anytime because we don't know what is going to happen in the next minute. Act quickly, calmly, and correctly. See, first aider should be quick, calm, and he should know correct techniques. Then only it will be a good help to the victim. Now, first aid is an important tool in quickly responding to accidents to ensure that injuries can be efficiently and promptly dealt with before and trained medical
Ma'am,
professional arrives to
ma'am,
administer more specialist treatment. Yes, ma'am.
your PPT is there on the screen, I think so. Your PPT is
Shall
on the
I?
screen. Your
Yes, ma'am.
PPT is on the screen.
Shall I stop sharing, ma'am?
No, no. I said your PPT is on the screen, but the slides are not moving. Please click on the slides.
No, ma'am. Slides are over.
Okay.
Yes. So shall I stop sharing, ma'am?
I stopped sharing. आप बोलिए. You keep on. Yeah.
Okay. Then here are some principles of first aid. What are the principles of first aid? Preserve life. First aider should keep in mind that he is going to preserve that life by giving first aid. So he should be skilled enough. So prevent deterioration. The victim should not be deteriorized. He should improve. Promote recovery. First aider is trying to promote recovery. Means a victim should recover by his by giving his first aid. Taking immediate action. First aider should be quick in taking decision, in taking steps to improve his condition. Now, calming down the situation, he should not, first aider should not panic. Otherwise, the victim will get more feared, more afraid of his condition, and may become more deteriorate. So, first aider should be calm. He should not shout. He should do his first aid work calmly and by giving positive words to the victim. Now, calling for medical assistance. A first aider should call a doctor as the condition as per condition of the patient victim. Now apply the relevant treatment because first aider should be aware of types of treatment. Then there are three basic C's to remember. First aider should know three C's. Check, as I showed you in the first slide. First aider should check the situation, the scene. Then call. If it is emergency position, then he should call 108 ambulance. Then care. He should know all the procedure and techniques to take a good care of a victim. Now the golden rules of first aid. There are golden rules. We should know as a first aider, use a systematic approach in all medical emergencies. Identify and avoid risks to yourself, the person affected, and third parties. Request support early. First aider Then be suspicious and primarily assume it is something serious. Deal quickly with any chaos and cope with the situation. Then duties of first aider. What are the duties of a first aider? Assess the situation quickly and calmly. I am stressing upon this word again and again, calmly, so that a victim cannot be panicked. Protect yourself and them from any danger. As a first aider, you should be quite confident that where the victim is lying, that place is safer. There is no danger, further danger for the victim. Now, prevent infection between you and them. So, you know very well the devices, the techniques which we are using nowadays during pandemic. Means, first aider should wear gloves, mask, and should not touch any wound with bare-handed, and should not cough and sneeze on the wound of the victim. So, prevent infection between you and them. First aider and victim both should be protected from any kind of further infection. Comfort and reassure. Assess the casualty and give first aid treatment. Now, arrange for help if needed. Means you can call if you know any doctor or any efficient person. That can be done instead of calling 108 ambulance. Then your basic first aid kit. As I know, parents should keep one standard first aid box at home and one first aid diary and pen on the table, so that the coming generation can be sensitized. Children should know what is first aid and how it should be given. So every now and then, when they see their parents are doing first aid nicely, and when they read the diary, they come to know proper procedure and techniques and methods how to do first aid to different kinds of victims. Now, what the standard first aid box should keep. The constituents of the first aid box are plasters in a variety of different sizes and shapes, small, medium, and large sterile gauze dressings, at least two sterile eye dressings, then triangular bandages, crepe rolled bandages, safety pins, and disposable sterile gloves and tweezers. So that's all, my dear friends. I hope you must have learned something different from this session, and I am very grateful to Shilpi Srivastava madam, and I must appreciate Dr. Sunita Gandhi, the founder of Education Visionary, GETI, Disruptive Education Movement. I really liked this movement by the core of my heart. I appreciate this type of efforts for the society and for the nation. And when our small children will, coming generation will be sensitized how to use first aid, our families, our society, and our nation will definitely be benefited. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for being here. And this is a topic which is not very common with people. Usually, very rarely people talk about first aid. But
Yes, ma'am.
then you have been kind enough and very alert enough to talk about it in our session today. First aid, can this also be trained for children who are like in primary section? Can it start from that time?
Yes, ma'am, definitely. We can sensitize students of class for third to fifth. They learn small things, how to wash wound with Savlon or Dettol by liquefying it in water. Then, with the help of cotton, they can first aid to their classmates if they fall. They can wash their bruises because the small children, when they run, they used to fall every now and then. So bruises are there. So we can train some students from the class to wash at least that bruises and wounds.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for this can also be taught by parents at home, right? It's not just. Do we have a separate period for it, or can it be done in like during the school hours, and in taking out just time for it, or should it be allotted a separate period altogether?
No, ma'am. Actually, separate period for first aid is not possible. But during games, generally students fall, and at that time we can take one first aid box in the ground. At that time, we can teach them. That is the right time to teach them first aid, and we can give them training of sympathy and empathy, and they will cooperate each other.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for taking out time and being with us. It was a really nice lecture on the importance of first aid. So have a lovely
Thank
day, ma'am, ahead, and goodbye for now.
thank you. Goodbye, ma'am. Welcome.